Hello, dear students, and welcome to our third lecture series on strategic management. And I'm your instructor, Dr. Jamal. Okay, so today we'll start chapter number 2, which is the external environment, which is the external environment opportunities, threats, industry, competition, and competitor analysis. So, to continue or to connect this chapter from our previous and of course forthcoming chapters. So given that the external environment will continue to change and that change may be unpredictable in terms of timing and strength, so firms management is challenged to be aware of and understanding the implications and identify patterns represented by these changes by taking the actions to improve firms' competitive positions and improve their operational efficiency. So, environmental external factors they affect companies' growth, companies' profitability as well. So, the environmental conditions in the current global economy it differs from the previously faced by the firms like technological advances. It requires more timely and effective competitive actions and response. Rapid sociological changes abroad affect labor practices, product demand, government policies and laws, taxes laws, right? And changes to nations' financial regulation system as well, because that also increase the complexity of firms' financial conditions or transactions or its growth. So understanding external environment helps the firm build the knowledge and information that can be used to have new capabilities and core competency, the buffer for any environmental negative impacts, and pursue opportunities to better serve stakeholders' uh, needs or stakeholders' wants. We talked about in our last lecture what are those stakeholders, right? So, to begin with this chapter, we will be covering two learning opportunity objectives here. Sorry, three. So, number one, explain the importance of analyzing and understanding the environmental, external, external environment faced by the firms. Number two, define and describe the journal environment and industry environment. And some of the external environment process we talk about here. So let's go to the next slide. So here, this external environment, so the figure 2.1 here illustrate the three components of firm's external environment and the elements or factors that are part of each component, right? So they are the journal environment, right? The overall journal environment in which we talk about the demographic, economy, sustainable physical, socio-cultural, global, technological, political, and legal. And then there is industry environment here. Threat of new entrants, power suppliers, power buyers, product substitute, intensity of rivalry. And the third one is competitors environment. So these components of external environments and their elements or factors and how they are related to each other, right? How industry environment is related to the journal environment, how competitive environment related to all the journal and industry environment. So we will be discussing in our later chapters as well. So throughout this, I think a couple of chapters, we will be talking about the linkages between all these three elements, three environments. So journal environment, which is the outer one, outside environment, and then the industry environment and the competitor environment, right? So let's talk about the journal environment. The firm's understanding of external environment is matched with the knowledge about its internal environment. Because we talked about in our last lecture, the vision, all right? So it helps us to form its vision, to develop its mission, and to take strategic actions that result in strategic competitiveness, and of course, the above average return, right? So the journal environment is composed of dimensions in the broader society that influence an industry and firms within it. So but the firms cannot directly control the journal environment segments and elements. All right. So there are seven segments which is out of the control of the firm, and these are demographic, economic, political, legal, socio-culture, technological, global, and sustainable physical environment. So this table 2.1, oops, sorry, table 2.1 is basically list elements that characterize each of the seven segments of the journal environment. So each segment will be discussed later in this chapter. So we have a complete both slides on demographic segment, economic segment, political segment, social culture segment, and then technological segment, global segment, sustainable segment. Although there are a couple of explanations are here as well, but all those we will be covering in our coming slides. So I'm not going to waste time here. So let's just move. Here we go. The industry environment. So that was the journal environment, the outer side, right? Seven segments. And now the industry environment. So industry environment is a set of factors that directly influence a firm and its competitive actions and responses, right? And these are set of new entrants, power of suppliers, power of buyers, of new substitute product, and intensity of rivalry among the competitive firms. So, how companies gather or interpret information about the competitors' analysis? Through this, understanding the firm's competitive environment complements the insight provided by studying the journal and industry environment together. All right? So basically, competitor analysis represents the understanding of its current competitors. So following points, I think in the next slide, they are very important to make, regarding different external environment analysis. Number one is analysis of journal environment, environment focuses on future, of course, future trends and their implications. Number two, industry analysis focus on factors and conditions influencing from profitability within its industry. The third one is the analysis of competitors focus on predicting the dynamics of rivalry actions by the competitors, their response and intentions. So in combination of the result of these three analysis, one, two, and three, the firm's vision, mission, choices of strategies, and competitive actions and responses, they are made. The performance involved when the firms integrate all these three insights and then you can go to gain your competitive advantage and of course above average return. So it should be noted that although the firms cannot directly, oh, sorry. So it should be noted that also the firms cannot directly control the elements of external environment, but they may be able to influence and will be influenced by or, or can influence these factors, right? So the strategic challenge is to develop an understanding of the implication of these elements and factors for a firm's competitive position. The processes and frameworks for the analysis of its external environments we talk about here. So to cope up often with ambiguous and incomplete environmental data and to increase the understanding of journal environment, firms complete the external environmental analysis. So, in addition to increase firms' awareness, like I told you before, so firms go through external environment analysis and it consists of four parts: scanning, monitoring, forecasting, assessing. So a small or brief discussion is provided in table 2.2. Scanning, which identifies early signals of environmental changes. Monitoring, detecting meaning through ongoing observations. Forecasting, developing projections, anticipation, and of course anticipation for the outcomes. Assessing, which determining the timing and importance of environmental changes and trends, right? So don't worry, we will be having a full-fledged discussion on all these four. So this is the process of having external environmental analysis. So the next slide, we talk about the outcome of external environmental analysis. So outcomes, we will be finding out opportunities and threats. So opportunities basically represent conditions in journal environment that may help company to achieve strategic competitiveness. Whereas threats, they are conditions that may hinder or constrain a company's effort to achieve strategic competitiveness. So information used to analyze the general environment can come from multiple sources. For example, publications, employees, suppliers, conversations with the customers, right? So this information can be formally gathered by You can say that individual occupying traditional, uh, the boundary spinning role like sales rep, purchasing rep, public relation department. So there is a study which shows that industry analysts from different firms, they are now using internet to find out the information. They send you different kinds of emails, surveys to gather the information regarding what are the demographics of the customers, what are the you know laws gonna government policies impact, uh, and government policies impacting on your business, what customer thinks, what employees think. So they are also gathering all these information. So effective scanning, monitoring, forecasting, they are vital to the firm's efforts to recognize and evaluate opportunities and threats, right? So one of the strategies to get the external environmental analysis is scanning, which is the number one part. Scanning, monitoring, forecasting, right? So first one is scanning. So scanning entails the study of all segments in the general environment. So from use the scanning process to detect either early warning signals regarding potential changes, right? In most cases, information and data being collected, uh, so the data being collected, you know, or observations, they detect ambiguity or early signs they are not well connected, right? So scanning is the most important in a highly volatile environment. And we know that nowadays environment is dynamic or volatile. It's changing. So scanning activities must be aligned with organizational context. The internet provides a wealth of opportunities for scanning. You can find out what laws are going to implement, what are the changes, what are the customer preferences. There's social media, and there's are also big data analysis you can find out, right? So scanning may signal a future change in the needs and lifestyle of a baby boomers as they approach their retirement age. They may not only provide opportunities for financial institutions as they prepare for an increase in number of retirees, right? But also may provide opportunities for packagers and marketers of retirement communities, which they can be used, health products and also this kind of stuff, right? The next one is monitoring. So monitoring represents a process whereby analysts observe environmental changes over time to see if, in fact, an important trend begin to emerge or not. The critical issue in monitoring is that an analyst be able to detect meaning for the data and information collected during scanning process. So effective monitoring requires the firms to identify important stakeholders and understand its reputation among these stakeholders as the foundation for serving their unique needs. Planning and monitoring also provide information about successfully commercializing new technologies as well, right? And the third one is forecasting. So forecasting, which is the next step to analyze the external, environment. So forecasting represents the process where analysts develop feasible projection of what might happen and how quickly as a result of the changes and trends detected through scanning and monitoring. Forecasting events and outcomes accurately is a challenge. Forecasting demand for new technological product is difficult because technology are continually shortening their product life cycle. You can see that a lot of products are coming to the market and becoming obsolete even less than 1 year. We have a famous example of EV technologies, and nowadays big companies like Toyota, they are pulling out their investments from EV, electrical vehicle, uh, industry. Then they are fueling more their cash or investment in the hydrogen powered, and they announced that the future is going to be hydrogen, not the EV, right? So the next one is assessing. So assessing represents the step in the external analysis process where all other steps come together. So the objective of assessing is to determine the timing and significance of the efforts of changes and trends in environment on the strategic management process of the firm. So getting the strategy right will depend on the accuracy of the assessment. So although gathering and organizing information is important, appropriately interpreting that information to determine if an identified trend in the general environment is either opportunity or threat, and that is a critical, right? So for example, the managers may choose to disregard certain information, thus missing critical indicators for future environmental changes, right? So you must gather all the information through monitoring and then assessing. Sorry, monitoring and then forecasting, and also assess whether we have gathered all the information or not. So let's talk about the segments of journal environment. So that is the process of gathering all, um, the journal environment. And now elements or segments of journal environment, and they are seven: demographic, economic, political, socio-cultural, technological, global, and sustainable physical environment. So although we have shown on our first slides table 2.1, which shows the journal overview of all the three environments connected to each other: journal environment, industry environment, and then competitor environment, right? So now let's talk about their elements. So these environmental segments affect all the industries and firms competing in them. So for each segment, firms has to determine strategic relevance of environmental changes and trends. So let's talk about the number one demographic segment. So the demographic segment is concerned with population size, age, structure, geographic distribution, ethnic mix, and income distribution. So though each of the elements of this segment are discussed below, population size and all this stuff, right? So you might note that the challenge for analyst or the manager is to determine what changes that have been identified in the demographic segment employ for the future strategic competitiveness of the firm. So population size, through population size, it provide an important to firms that require a critical mass of potential customers. So changes in specific makeup of population size may have even more critical implications. So it is projected that population, you know, growth will continue in the 21st century, but at slower pace. So firms want to recognize that the market potential that exists for them in the following five nations, which are expected to be the populous nation of the world. What should be their response? India, China, United States, Indonesia, and Pakistan. So one of the most important changes in population size is birth rate, family size, as well as changes in population over developed versus developing countries. The second one is the age structure under demographic. So under demographic segment, the second one is age structure. So changes in the nation's birth rate or life expectancy can have important implications for the firm, right? So look at the big economies like Japan is now referred to as silver economy or gray economy because people are getting old, gray hairs, and young population is very low. So in this, we'll talk about are people living longer? What is the life expectancy of the infants? So these will impact the healthcare system and the development of products and services targeted to older or young people, right? So there's going to be a huge business opportunities in these demographics, especially age structure. So threatens to ability of the firms to hire and retain workforce that meet their needs. If you're going to Japan and hiring a person, so average age is above 40, and if the person is coming to you at 55 years old, of course you need to pay for his medical bills, medical insurance gonna high, so it's gonna cost you a lot, right? Older people, they are less likely to adopt changes, especially technological change as well. Second, the third one under the demographic segment is geographic distribution, which is a population shift from one region of the nation to another, from metropolitan to non-metropolitan area. So all these shifts may have an impact on the firm's strategic competitiveness. The issues that should be considered under the geographic distributions, they are the attractiveness of a firm's location, maybe by the government support, and also a shrinking population may imply a shrinking tax base as well, and of course lesser availability of official financial support. And also firm may have to consider relocation if tax demands require it. Many governments or local municipalities, they are encouraging or they are making a special economic zone where you, if you open a company over there, if you shift your company over there, they are giving you zero tax grants over there. So it is helpful because tax is huge, so it's a huge saving as well. And huge saving means more benefit or more return available to the shareholders. So geographic distribution in United States is that the shift from states in the Northeast and Great Lakes region to states in the West, South, and Southeast. In China, the shift from rural areas to urban communities, they provide you a huge amount of. Similarly, advances in communication technologies will have a profound effect on geographic distribution and the workforce. The next one is ethnic mix. So this reflects the change in ethnic makeup of the population, and it has implication both for the firm's potential customer and for the workforce. So here issues that should be addressed include: will new product and services be demand will be having a demand, or can existing one be modified? How will changes in the ethnicity of the population affect composition of workforce? Are managers prepared to manage a more culturally diverse workforce? Right? And how firm position itself to take advantage of the workforce heterogeneity, right? So the ethnic diversity of the population is important due to customer needs and labor force composition. And then we have income distribution, which changes in income distribution are also important because changes in the level of individual or group purchasing power and their discretionary income often results in changes in spending and saving pattern. Tracking, forecasting, and assessing changes in income pattern may identify new opportunities. Wait a minute, I think our recording just stopped, so we need to record it again.